You're probably wondering why I had you do an exercise on company failures to discuss principles of leadership. Well, it's because if you look at the failure rate of companies today, it's astronomical. A best example I can give you is Fortune 500. From 1999 to 2009, just a single decade, 238 companies fell out of the Fortune 500. 238. That's almost 50% of the companies who were in the Fortune 500 in 1999 were no longer there as of 2009. That's a big number. And that's why I had you do the exercise. What causes that? Well, we talked about it. Competition causes it. What else causes it? Technology advancements. Maybe we don't keep up with technology that we should. The environment, legislation, compliance, poor planning. You know, we talked about all these things, but you know, if you take all of those and you really frame them to what they are, folks, it's leadership. It's just leadership. It all falls on the back of leadership. Leadership is what makes things happen. It is. Leadership sets guidance, sets strategy, sets the direction. So all of these things that we talk about, all these reasons are actually kind of sub-reasons behind the key reason, which was leadership. It's the leadership of those firms, either very openly and outward, or even insidiously kind of private, that caused those firms to no longer be part of the Fortune 500. This is not a small deal. This is a big deal. There's been hordes of books written on the differences between leadership and management. Frankly, for my money, I think we spend too much time on the academic exercise between the two. Is there a difference? Sure there is. Of course there is. But is that difference so critical that we need to really define it so we know which is which? Not so much. For my money, again, an effective leader, a successful leader, must have competent management skills. So I don't want to say it's moot to discuss the difference, but it certainly isn't as high a priority as it should be for most of us. So if you're looking for a definition, what would we use? What's the definition then of leadership? Well, we can go to any of 100 books and probably come up with 100 or more definitions. Let's keep it simple. Leadership is about vision. So if we buy into that vision, then leadership as a definition would be the ability to set a vision. Having a vision, having a clear and compelling vision, that's got to be step one. Step two, we have to be able to translate that vision into a reality. People have to be able to see, touch, and feel. If they don't know what it is, how can they help us? They can't. So they must be able to see it. We do that by translating it into reality. And the third step is we have to help people, or we have to be able to motivate and inspire support, which is people, in the effort to reach our vision. So we need their help. And we need their discretionary effort, like we talked about earlier. We need that stuff to be able to succeed at the pursuit of our vision. And that requires us then to make sure we can motivate and encourage those people who might support us. Again, when we're talking about leadership, let's be real. You know, let's really just be real. Leadership hasn't changed much in a couple thousand years. The concepts, the theories, most of the applications haven't changed much in a couple thousand years. Sure, a new consultant, of which I are one, occasionally will come by and need to get a glossy hardback all printed up to help their business. So they'll take something that you have been doing for 20 or 25 years and we'll change the name a little bit, give it a kind of a context that we like, put it in a hardback book, send it out, and everybody buys it. Except when you look at it, you see, you know, I've been doing that. I must be incredibly smart because this book just came out and I've been doing that for 10 years. It's because it's not new, folks. There's not a whole lot new under the leadership sun. What needs to occur is those same basic principles, same practices, same general applications that existed sometimes hundreds of years ago, certainly maybe even thousands. What should occur is we just need to repeat those. We need to learn them. We need to exercise them as leaders. Some leadership myths. We've all heard these, and I want to spend some time debunking them because most of them, frankly, are just a crock. For instance, some of us hear that leadership is a rare skill. Come on, folks, it's not rare. You go to an association meeting, you see leadership. You go to the Boy Scouts, you go to Little League team, your soccer team, you go to schools. Everywhere you go, there's leadership around us. We see it everywhere. So no, it's absolutely not a rare skill. The second myth this one bugs me, obviously, because of what I do for a living, is that leaders are born, not made. Man, I gotta tell you, that's at the top of my crock list. That's absolute garbage. Leaders are made. Leadership, listen to me, I'm gonna say this. Leadership is a learned skill. It's a learned skill. You learn to ride a bicycle, learn to shoot a gun, learn to play golf. Okay, I didn't learn that very well, but I try to play golf. We learn these things. They're skills. Leadership, the concepts behind leadership, the behaviors, the actions we need to take, folks, those are learned skills. Now, where some of the argument can come along about being born is, yes, some of us are born with a better propensity, if you will, to learn those specific skills. For instance, going back to my golf comment, I obviously was not born with the propensity to easily learn the game of golf. It just doesn't come to me that easy. Now, I will say, I've been playing it for 35 years. I will say that others do. I have a friend that I taught, again, some 30 years ago, and I bet we were probably the second or third time I'd had him on the golf course. We were on a par 3, it's about 130 yards. He said, a 3-wood. Are you kidding me? A 3-wood, 130 yards? Anyway, the ball never clears ankle height. Never clears ankle height. Slams into the pin, making about 20 miles an hour, drops straight in the hole. So he gets a hole-in-one the second time he's been on a golf course. I've been playing golf 35, 36 years. I've never had one. So apparently, Gordon Williams had a better propensity for learning golf than I. The third myth, and this one bears some comment, is that leaders must be charismatic. That leaders must be flamboyant, if you will, to be effective leaders. I have to tell you, it's wrong. It's wrong. And I can give you examples. It's not just me saying they're wrong because I think they're wrong. It is wrong. USA Today did a study and determined quite clearly that a little over 4 in 10 of CEOs today in the Fortune 1000, 4 in 10 Fortune 1000 today, CEOs, are considered introverts, very much introverts. Think about it further. Bill Gates, Microsoft, great big company. He's, by most people's accounts, very much an introvert. Warren Buffett, my word, but he's clearly an introvert. Shies away from publicity, all he can. But, you know, the list goes on. Walmart, 18th largest company in the entire planet, Walmart. Who's the CEO? Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you, his name's Mike Duke. But don't you think, as the largest company in the United States and the 18th largest in the world, that we ought to know his name, that ought to be a household name? Well, that's because he's not extroverted at all. He's quite the introvert. Charisma is not necessary for successful leadership. Knowledge and application of leadership skills is necessary for successful leadership. A fourth myth, and this one is kind of a spin-off of the rarity comment as well, and that's that leadership only exists at the top. We like to think that it's always they. You know, when we talk leadership, it's they. It's not us here, it's they. Well, no. Leadership exists at all levels in an organization. Certainly CEOs, other C-levels, vice presidents, certainly they hold leadership positions. But you know what? You go all the way down to individual contributors. I want you to think about people who hold non-management, non-supervisory roles, and tell me that others don't look to them for leadership. Of course they do. Of course they do. We have referent leaders at every level of the organization. So they do not exist solely at the top. And the final one that kind of leads into the rest of our sessions that I do want to touch on is that leaders, to be successful, must direct, control, prod, if you will. No, that's not what they do. Leaders encourage, leaders enable, leaders motivate to the extent that people will give us that discretionary effort. Remember we talked earlier, discretionary effort, that effort which people will give us that is beyond what we require them to do. Folks, that's the holy grail of productivity. Someone working for us has a required set of deliverables or tasks that they have to do. If they do more than that, which is their sole option, they're the only person who can determine whether they do that or not. They do that because they were motivated, encouraged, and allowed feedback from leadership. So leaders don't prod and poke and control. No, they encourage and they motivate.